Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I am thrilled with this guest and this segment because it harkens back in part into my own past as a reporter for BronxNet many years ago. But let me bring on a chess instructor, chess master, chess genius, chess teacher, author of this book, Sunrise in the Bronx: Chess and Life Lessons from the South Bronx to the White House. David MacEnulty, nice to see you again.
Very nice to see you too. Thank you for having me here.
I'll just let people know that way back when in the 90s, I was doing a couple of news stories and I walked into CES 70 because I had heard they had an amazing chess program, and David MacEnulty was there. David, let's just go rewind a little bit. You were not a chess guy. You had done all kinds of stuff. And my sense from reading the book was that you were kind of finding yourself, right? You were like, you did this, you're a musician, right? So very briefly, where were you at when you entered CES 70 for the first time?
Wow. Okay. I'll try to be really brief on this.
Yes.
But I've always sort of known who I was. I've always just enjoyed whatever it was that I was doing, whether it was music or writing or construction. It really doesn't matter what I do. I'm always trying to enjoy whatever it is. I was at the time working in real estate as a building manager, and I wasn't really enjoying that very much. And then a friend of mine, Bruce Pandolfini, one of the great chess authors and teachers, asked me to teach a class for him. And I thought he was out of his mind because I was just somebody who loved to play chess. I've been playing since I was about 5, but I never really studied it the way the masters did. I was just, somebody who loved to play the game. And he convinced me to go in and teach for him, and I did, and I loved it. He asked me to do it again, and I loved it even more.
And then one thing, I want to move forward. One thing led to another, and the next thing you know, you were in front of students. One of the iconic things that I remember is you were talking to the kids, and the discovery about, because of the difficult lives many of them led, they didn't know a lot of things. And you said, what is like a straight line? And if you're teaching chess, and the kids were like, it took a while to even describe that.
Yes. I had a terrible time in the beginning because I was operating under the illusion that I should simply tell them what they needed to know. And that's not quite the way it works. You have to start with where they are. And if these children don't understand the use of the word corner, for example, you've got to teach what a corner is. And so I really reevaluated how to teach chess, starting with the basic simple line, straight line. What is a straight line? What happens when you join 2 straight lines together, a perpendicular and a horizontal? You get a right angle. You get 4 of those together with equal sides, and you have a square. You get 8 squares in a row, and you have a rank. Put 8 on top of each other, and you have a chessboard with ranks, rounds, and diagonals.
So what my sense was that in some ways, now we're going to talk about how not only did you teach that, but you got the education about who these children are, where they come from, and as much of an education as they did, who eventually became chess champions. We know that. So for you, that must have been quite an education. I mean, the teacher got as big an education as anybody.
And a big learning curve for me as well. One of the things that astonished me was, I grew up in a nice middle class background with 2 college educated parents, and they read to me all the time. And, we just grew up using words all the time. And what I discovered was there was a study done many years ago about how often children are read to and spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that if you have you can divide the population into 2 groups, which is not usually a good thing to do. But in this case, you have those in poverty and those not in poverty. Generally speaking, according to these studies, the people in poverty are read to far less than people in the middle class and above. So the children that I was working with didn't have a lot of work with language. They hadn't been read to as often as my children were and as I was.
Or as you assumed they had been.
Right. And so when I discovered that they didn't have all that experience to put it basically, with the neurological processing of language. That what I had to do was make up for that deficit by being really super clear and using words that we could now have a shared terminology. And that only that way can we really understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about something completely alien to them, which was chess.
Was the movements on a chessboard. So
Yeah.
now here's the hardest question I'm going to ask you. So
Okay.
going from that place where they didn't even know straight or what a corner was,
Hmm.
how did you get them to a point where they were not only competitive but became champion nationally recognized chess players? I mean,
Okay.
in 10 words, all that.
Well, see, the great thing is that all of these kids they weren't read to, as I was talking about. They are very smart.
No doubt, man. You're
There was
talking to a
no
Bronx
question
boy
about their
here.
abilities. It was a question of how prepared were they to begin taking classes. So my job was really preparation. And once I got them to realize just how smart they were, because, as I like to say, if you beat somebody in a game of chess, they're not going to call you stupid. And
Although
so,
one of the things, oh, go ahead. I'm going
well,
to do an
so when they
although after
started
you finish.
really learning the scientific ideas behind how you make a decision in chess, and then the emotional things that go along with that, they began to feel really empowered, which is what they should have been feeling because they were very smart kids. And once they start really believing in themselves, the sky's the limit. They can do anything, and in fact,
The
they have gone on to do just about anything
tremendous things.
you can imagine.
The although that I was going to mention is, I was shocked at the section on cheating.
Yes,
And by the way, again, the book, you should check it out. It's all about our kids. And there it is, Sunrise in the Bronx, chess and life lessons from the South Bronx of the White House. Um, but and then the kids, you had to teach them the other part of it, to control their emotions. Imagine a
yeah,
child being
yeah,
cheated on and not having, especially a kid from the Bronx who knows the one thing they know is what's fair and not fair.
right,
And you
absolutely,
had to get them to, to deal with that. There's a quote that I pulled out of the book that says, chess is a touchstone of human behavior and emotional development. So it's not only the movement on the board you were dealing with, you
right.
were dealing with really developing people, getting them to be academically smart and all those kinds of
Well, chess is actually a very stressful activity in a way because
things.
it's a contest between your brain and somebody else's brain. And if you lose, you've got to admit that they knew something you didn't know. And that's really crucial for being a good human being.
Good
Uh,
human being and learning how to be a human being
yeah,
for
and
8, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds.
yeah, so one of my big messages was losing a chess game or making a mistake doesn't define you. It shows you what you need to work on. And I'm here to help you work on it. And once they got that idea, once they knew that we were going to really help them, they began to look on mistakes as an opportunity to grow. And once people have that mindset, they don't get mad at themselves for making a mistake. They don't call themselves foolish or berate themselves. They think, okay, what did I not know that I now need to learn?
I want to just get to some of the mechanics of the
Yes.
program that you put together. You
Mhm.
traveled literally all over the country.
Yes.
You got them in early in the morning before class to get
Right.
their mindset. And imagine, I'm just talking to my friends and neighbors in the Bronx. Imagine doing that and then sending a child from a chess discussion into math class. Then the child's mind is thinking analytically and by numbers and counting and all that. And
Absolutely.
you also ran a summer program. So we talk about what are kids going to do productively in the summer when there's no school, and you had them in playing chess.
Well,
I can't. I would stand and applaud.
yeah. Thank you. One of the great things about chess is that it has spin-offs into virtually every other subject. Once, regardless of what you're doing, you have to learn how to put things in the proper sequence. You have to understand the patterns of whatever field you're in. And once you understand those things and how to manipulate them and how to work with other people to make everybody really understand what you're dealing with, regardless of the subject. Once you get once you get these kids with that idea, there's just no stopping them. And the proof is the other night I had a party where I invited a bunch of the kids from the team.
Really? From
And
and they're adults now?
they're in their 30s and early 40s.
Wow.
And
And are they? I mean, I know you counted one of the children who had some issues, and you said now he's a successful financial planner.
one of them is a senior vice president at a big financial institution.
Wow.
Another one is up for a job at the Federal Reserve. Another one is a project manager at a large engineering firm in Texas. Another one is doing artificial intelligence research. I mean,
Wow.
these kids
It
have
goes on and on. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, years ago, actually about the same time that I did those news stories, I produced a video about tennis and why tennis was important for children.
Mhm.
And one of the things they said were the same things I read in your book about being alone, having to, dissect what was going on, and
Mhm.
then strategize and plan. Do you hit the ball this way? Do you hit the
Yes.
ball that way? And they talked about the very same things you're talking about. Is the fact that if they do those things, they will be successful in life, not necessarily as tennis players, but
Right.
as human beings. The last thing I want to ask you about, what you were telling me about beforehand, ultimately you won championships, national championships, and you got invited to the White House.
Yes.
Do
Uh,
tell.
well, we went to the national tournament in Dallas, Texas. And at that point, I had 4 really super strong players. And I thought they had a chance to finally really win it. And then the kids underneath them were also very, very strong. And it turned out to be just amazingly successful. We won 2 sections at the national tournament, thereby making our school from the South Bronx the #1 chess school in the entire United States for
Well, that, by the way, the school is CES 70.
CES
We
70,
should.
yes. And we
And
had
I
a brilliant.
remember the principal. I remember Mark Singer.
Oh,
I
yes,
mean, these are all people that I had interviewed many,
right.
many years ago.
Yeah, well, our principal, Sylvia Simon, was the one
So
who hired me to be a teacher. She was brilliant, God's gift to education. But as a result of winning that tournament, we got invited to the White House for a special science event where Neil deGrasse Tyson and Marcia
another
McLeod,
Bronxite, by the way. But
yes, went to Bronx Science.
he certainly did.
So that was an amazing event, to have.
And the kids got it. How many kids went?
I only took the top 4.
You took the top 4. That makes sense. But
Right.
what a tremendous thing. Now, by the way, again, the book is there. It is, Sunrise in the Bronx, and please check it out if you want to read about what it takes to make successful children in the Bronx. This is one way to do it. Where are you at now? Did you retire? Are you still teaching chess? You
I
still
have
playing?
retired,
Okay.
and I'm very happy.
Very happy that you're retired. Are you
Yeah.
still playing chess?
I still play from time to time,
Do you-
and I still study it. It's a lifelong effort.
If a child came by and said, "Could you help me figure it out?" You could probably give him some pointers, him or her, some
I could do
pointers.
that once or twice.
Listen, David MacEnulty, thank you, thank you, thank you for taking care of our Bronx kids,
Oh, Gary,
and
thank you so
we
much.
really, really appreciate you and everything you did and everything you do for us in the Bronx. I want to remind people, Sunrise in the Bronx, check it out. It will inspire you. You'll learn about what it takes to educate our kids, and not only educate them, but to develop them as people. Thank you so much for that and for joining us on the Bronx Buzz.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
We'll stay in touch. Okay, that will do it for the Bronx Buzz for this evening, and we'll say happy holidays to everybody. And you know what we always say, if the curtain don't fall, the creek don't rise. Yeah, I'll be back next